Not impulsively, not out of frustration on a bad day. You have thought about it seriously, with genuine consideration of what the next step might look like. And then something stopped you. Maybe it was the pension vesting in 18 months. Maybe it was the team you felt responsible for. Maybe it was the health coverage, the familiarity, the relationships, the sense that starting over somewhere new would cost more than staying in a place that no longer fits. That stopped feeling was not an accident. The friction you feel when you try to imagine leaving was not created by your circumstances. It was engineered by your employer. My name is Zara. This is Zara versus the workplace. And today we are going to name every mechanism organizations use to make leaving feel more costly than staying, regardless of what staying is actually costing you. Picture someone, 5 years in, the role has plateaued, the compensation has fallen behind the market, the work is familiar to the point of repetition. There is no overt dissatisfaction, no toxic manager, no hostile culture, no clear event that would justify the disruption of leaving. Just a quiet, persistent sense that this is not where growth happens anymore. The decision to leave surfaces and retreats in a predictable cycle. Every time it surfaces, a specific set of calculations begins. The pension contributions that vest at year 7, the accrued vacation that would be paid out at a lower rate elsewhere, the medical coverage that is better here than anything the market comparison suggested. The team of 3 people who have expressed directly that they would struggle if this person left. Each calculation adds weight to the staying side. Each weight feels legitimate. Each one was placed there deliberately. The question this person cannot answer cleanly is the one that matters most. Am I staying because this is the right choice, or because leaving was made expensive enough that I stopped seriously considering it? Here is the diagnosis. In most cases, those are not the same question, and the organization has always known the difference. Retention is not the same thing as satisfaction. Organizations frequently achieve one without providing the other. There are 4 mechanisms organizations use to create dependency that makes leaving feel prohibitively costly. Each one is structurally designed. None of them require individual intent to function. The system produces the outcome regardless. Mechanism 1. The deferred compensation architecture. Pension vesting schedules, long-term incentive plans, equity grants, tenure-based benefits, these structures share a single design principle. They delay the delivery of compensation that was earned in the present until a future date that requires continued employment to access. The mechanism is temporal leverage. By distributing compensation across time, rather than delivering it at the point of earning, organizations create a perpetual future obligation that must be forfeited upon departure. The employee does not experience this as manipulation. They experience it as investment, as money they are owed that will be received if they stay long enough. But money you cannot access until a future date is not compensation already received. It is a retention instrument disguised as compensation. Every month of employment moves the vesting date closer and simultaneously makes the departure cost higher. Deferred compensation does not reward loyalty. It manufactures it by making departure progressively more expensive. Mechanism 2. The social obligation construction. Organizations invest systematically in the emotional infrastructure of team belonging, team events, recognition programs, internal culture, language, long service celebrations, direct manager relationships built on personal as well as professional exchange. Each of these investments generates genuine social connection. That is not incidental. It is the objective. The mechanism is obligation through belonging. When a person feels genuinely connected to colleagues, responsible for a team, and embedded in relationships that exist only within the organizational context, departure carries a social cost that purely rational analysis cannot capture. Leaving means leaving people. It means disrupting relationships. It means being the person whose departure caused difficulty for those who remained. That guilt is real. The relationships are real. The design that produced them with retention as a secondary objective is also real. The team you feel responsible for leaving was built, in part, to make you responsible for staying. Mechanism 3. The skill specificity trap. Training and development investments made by organizations are rarely neutral in their design. Internal certifications, proprietary systems, organization-specific processes, and role-specific institutional knowledge all accumulate value inside the organization, while generating limited transferable value outside it. The mechanism is capability concentration. The more deeply an employee's skills are developed within organization-specific frameworks, the more their expertise is defined by knowledge that has no external market, the more their departure represents a personal capability loss as well as an organizational one. They are not just leaving a job, they are leaving the context in which most of what they know is useful. This dynamic is reinforced by organizations that underinvest in externally transferable skill development, formal qualifications, industry-recognized certifications, broadly applicable frameworks in favor of internal development that compounds the specificity trap. An organization that develops you only in its own image is an organization that makes itself harder to leave every time it invests in you. Mechanism 4. The identity fusion strategy. The most sophisticated retention mechanism requires no formal program. It operates through the gradual alignment of personal identity with organizational identity. The slow process by which an employee begins to define who they are, through where they work, what they do, and how long they have done it. The mechanism is self-concept investment. Organizations that offer status, purpose, community, and identity that make belonging to the organization feel like belonging to something meaningful, generate an attachment that has nothing to do with compensation or career progression. The employee is not staying for the pension or the team. They are staying because leaving would require them to reconstruct a sense of self that has become inseparable from the organizational context. This is the deepest form of retention. It is also the hardest to examine clearly because the identity investment feels like personal conviction rather than organizational design. When you cannot imagine who you would be without this company, the company has succeeded at something it never needed to announce. Here is what the full structure produces over a decade. The deferred compensation has been extended so many times, another vesting period, another long-term incentive grant, another equity refresh that the departure cost is perpetually 18 to 24 months ahead of wherever the employee currently stands. The social obligations have deepened with each year of relationship investment. The skill specificity has narrowed to the point where the external market no longer clearly reflects the employee's value, and the identity fusion has progressed far enough that leaving feels not just costly but disorienting. None of these mechanisms required the organization to prevent the employee from leaving. They only required making the cost of departure high enough that the employee made that decision for themselves, repeatedly, every time the question arose. The cage was never locked. The door was simply made to feel heavier than anything waiting on the other side. The most effective retention strategy ever designed is one the employee experiences as their own reluctance to go. Here is the lens that changes every calculation from this point forward. Stop evaluating your reasons for staying against the friction of leaving. Start evaluating your reasons for staying against the cost of staying. These are different questions. The friction of leaving is real, the vesting schedule, the relationships, the identity reconstruction, the market uncertainty. But the cost of staying in a role that has stopped producing growth, fair compensation, or advancement is also real. It is simply less visible because it accumulates quietly, in the form of years spent and options not taken, rather than arriving as a single, legible expense. The cost of staying is paid in time, and time, unlike money, cannot be recovered. 3 moves, executable before the dependency compounds further. Move 1. Separate the deferred compensation from the staying decision and evaluate them independently. Calculate precisely what you would forfeit by leaving now: the unvested pension, the equity, the accrued benefits. Write the number down. Then calculate what you are forfeiting by staying: the market compensation differential, the career progression delay, the compounding opportunity cost of another year in a plateaued role. Both numbers are real. Most people only calculate the first one. Move 2. Audit your skill portfolio for external transferability right now. List every significant capability you have developed in the past 3 years. For each one, ask a single question: would this appear as a meaningful qualification on a job posting outside this organization? The ones that would are assets. The ones that would not are dependencies. The ratio tells you how much of your professional development has been investment versus entrenchment. Move 3. Run a market valuation exercise before the next vesting event. 3 months before any significant vesting date, actively engage with the external market. Apply for roles. Have conversations. Generate at least one concrete data point about what your current skills command outside your current organization. This exercise serves two functions. It gives you accurate information about your external value information that most employees systematically lack. And if the market value significantly exceeds your current compensation, it gives you a documented basis for a conversation with your employer before you decide whether the vesting event is worth waiting for. You are not obligated to leave, but you are obligated to know what leaving would actually cost on both sides of the calculation. They did not trap you. Trapping implies force. What happened was subtler. The deferred compensation made the future feel owned. The social obligations made departure feel like abandonment. The skill specificity made the outside world feel uncertain. The identity fusion made leaving feel like losing yourself. None of it required your consent. All of it required only your continued presence. And here is the thing that matters most. Recognizing the mechanism does not obligate you to leave. Some of what was built is genuinely valuable. The relationships are real, the compensation may be fair, the role may still be producing growth. Recognition is not a verdict, it is information. But decisions made with accurate information are a different quality of decision than decisions made inside a structure designed to limit what you can clearly see. You were never too loyal to leave. You were made to feel too indebted to consider it. If you recognized your own situation in this video, if any of these mechanisms named something you have been feeling without being able to articulate, drop the word dependent in the comments. Just that word. I want to know how many people this channel is reaching who are currently inside this structure. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing the things most workplaces will never tell you. I'm Zara, and this is Zara versus the workplace.